This is part 1 of every type of Clash Royale player you've definitely run into for sure. Let's go. The 2.6 Hog Cycle player. Dude, this is the most loyal player in the game. Loyal to 8 specific cards. The Hog, Ice Golem, Musketeer, Skeletons, Ice Spirit, Cannon, Fireball, and the Log. That's it. That's the whole idea. The 2.6 Hog Cycle deck has been viable since the start of Clash Royale, and players who use that will tell you it's the most high skill deck in the entire game, and honestly, they're not really wrong. The meta has shifted 100 times, be it the new cards, new evos, the new heroes, and new whole metas, and Royale API keeps tracking it, and it still keeps showing up. It feels like it's the evergreen deck, and that title actually makes sense, to be honest. Here's the thing about the 2.6 player. It's never the deck, it's the mindset, man. These players stop following the meta. They've just mastered one thing so thoroughly that the meta doesn't even really matter much. Every card in that deck is cheap, and none of them are individually scary, like the Mega Knight Evo, but together, they cycle faster than almost anything in the game. The Hog goes in, chips the tower, and comes back around again before you've even recovered, and that's the whole strat. Rinse, repeat, and win. Even with the new Evos and heroes, they've watched their entire get evolutions and heroes at this point. There's always been a whole fan base for this deck archetype, and they're still here, still running the same 8 cards and still winning, man. You do see some players slot in the Earthquake instead of the Fireball depending on the meta, but the core idea never changes. Get the Hog to the tower, defend everything else cheaply, cycle back, and do it again. If you ever lost to someone who deployed nothing, but just spammed a bunch of cheap cards and somehow took your tower before you understood what happened, that was guaranteed a 2.6 Hog player, and they weren't lucky, man. It's just these kids have done it 10,000 times at this point. The mid-ladder Mega Knight player. Guys, you know this person. You face this person, and I hate to say it, you might be this guy because of how much Mega Knight spam is going on in this meta. The mid-ladder Mega Knight player figured out that dropping a 7 elixir card that jumps on everything, splashes on landing, and soaks up damage like crazy is a very comfortable way to play Clash Royale. And at the level of play where people don't even know how to punish it yet, they're right, and it does feel like a cheat code when you're lower down. The subreddit has been having this argument for years. One Reddit thread about mid-ladder got a comment and went like, "It just satisfies me when an Evo MK player gets cooked that bad." The satisfaction is real because the feeling when you get destroying a Mega Knight mid-ladder player is so good, man. Dude, it's never just the Mega Knight either. It's the combination. Mega Knight at the bridge, bats or minion horde behind them, freeze to clear out whatever you drop as a counter, and the push feels so random. And at mid-ladder, where a lot of players hesitate, it works, dude. This player's not stupid, guys. They just found out something that wins, and they leaned into this for their trophy range. The problem only shows up when they climb past the range where the Mega Knight stops being scary, and suddenly every opponent knows exactly how to punish a 7 elixir drop at the bridge and the mid-ladder strats that come with it. That's the wall, man, and a lot of Mega Knight players hit this very hard and quite soon if they try to push up higher, and that's just the deal. The pay-to-win player. You already know this guy, and this is arguably the most brain rot out of all of them. The credit card masters, the player who maxed out cards that dropped last Tuesday, man. Beat the Evo cards, hero cards, champion cards, they're all sitting at level 16 while the average player is still grinding through level 13 or 14. They're not better at the game. They just have stats and you don't have that yet, and they abuse it while all of us free-to-play players get cooked, even though we're just way better, man. And this is not random either. This is the player buying the Pass Royale every single season, and that's what gives them the instant access to the new hero cards the moment they drop, and fully upgraded while everyone else is still trying to figure out what they can even do to get a single shard or just a few hero coins. While you're grinding for weeks, they've already maxed that by the end of the month, and the credit card bill goes straight to their mom, and let's be honest, they don't even care. Clash Royale's taken a lot of heat for this over the years. When Supercell introduced level 14 in 2022, the backlash was so bad enough that it became one of the most talked issues in the entire game's history. One post in the Clash Royale fandom forum described it as a huge middle finger to literally everyone. The level gap makes certain matchups feel unwinnable before they even start, and that's the real problem. They did the exact thing with the heroes in level 16 in the late 2025 update, where they fumbled the greatest chance for a comeback for Clash Royale at the peak of the popularity. The Path of Legends did change some of this. Card levels did cap for competitive play, so max card and level 11 card performs the same in that mode, at least for the early stages. But on regular ladder, you still feel them immediately, and there'll always be new cards, new evos, new tower troops, new heroes, and those haven't hit restrictions just yet. The credit card master finds all of these first, dude, and all they do is bully free-to-play players indirectly, which is so frustrating, and 100% of us have gone through this, and that's just facts. Before we move on to the next tip, make sure to like and hype the video and join the Discord group, which is linked in the description of this video, where we talk about everything. Next, we got the pro wannabe, or the meta follower. Bro, this player has Royale API open in another tab all the time. They know the current top deck within 48 hours of the balance update. They've read the patch notes, watched the top 200 replays, and already identified 2 cards that quietly got overbuffed that nobody's talking about yet. This is the player who shows up on ladder with a deck you've never seen before and dismantles you because they understood the meta like 3 weeks before you even did. Dude, trust me, these kids are insane with coming up with the new meta decks. Royale API has every deck ranked by win rate, usage rate, and trophy range. The pro wannabe lives on that side, dude. They're comparing global tournament results with the Path of Legends ranking to figure out which archetype is too strong before it gets nerfed. And with global tournaments back in 2026, they've got even more data to work with, and it's less like playing a game and more like just grinding this out. The difference between a meta follower and the mid-ladder Mega Knight player isn't talent, it's just the information. Better reflexes aren't the thing. They just put in the work that most players don't even care to do. They watch the competitive CRL matches. When a top player like Riley or Ian drops a guide, they watch it by the end of the day and they instantly pick up the pro decks. And dude, they move on fast. When a card gets nerfed into the ground, they've already switched. When a new evo drops, they've already decided whether it's worth building around, and they don't care about old meta or just old data. They're already in the new one and constantly updating right now. If you ever face someone and just walked away thinking, I had no idea that deck could do that, you probably faced a pro wannabe or just a brain dead meta follower. Next, we got the toxic BM player. Bro, you'll see a good game 2 seconds into a match with just a constant emote spam. This is the BM player. BM stands for bad manners, and it's been a thing in Clash Royale since the game launched, and it's basically just emote spamming just to piss you off, deploying them over and over again to get into your head. I'm sure you guys would have seen the thanks emote after a lucky hit with the troops, the crying goblin emote before anything's even going down, the king laugh on loop for 30 seconds straight. The Clash Royale subreddit had documented this endlessly. There was an article covering the community thread for a user who wrote, "There's really nothing better than watching a replay to find your opponent was BMing to themselves for like 5 minutes straight and still lost." And if you ask me, this is the best feeling in the game, which I think is better than beating an over-leveled sweat. Imagine a kid spamming emotes the entire game and you make a comeback and just completely cook him. That's the real deal, man. Another community post in the wiki pointed out the Hog Rider Scream emote basically exists to be spammed. The sound alone does the work, man, when you hear it. These things are designed to irritate. Some of them were clearly designed with the intention now that I think about it. Bro, I think there are 2 versions of this player. The first uses emotes to mess with your head, trying to tilt you into a mistake. The second thinks it's funny regardless of what's happening in the game. The second type is somehow more annoying because there's no logic to counter, and they're just in there cackling like a hyena for no reason. Honestly, just use the mute button if you see kids like this, or if you want to play along, be my guest. Next, we got the log bait, or the evolved hyperbait player. If you never played against a log bait player before, which is a lie to be honest, you're about to find out why players quit this game over it. The whole goal sounds simple, and it's to get your small spells out of rotation, and then punish you for not having it. The core deck is just a bunch of bait cards, and I'm sure you guys know the classic log bait deck I'm talking about. Bait out the opponent's log or arrows with the princess or the goblin gang, then drop the goblin barrel when the spells are gone. If the opponent manages to defend every barrel, the rocket cycle becomes a secondary win condition, chipping the tower down from a distance until there's nothing to defend. Most guides have it, even when the barrels aren't connecting. The rocket cycle is always a path to win. Bro, there's a whole psychological layer on top of this deck type, and that's what arguably makes this player genuinely skilled, at least back in the day. They're reading your hand the entire match. They know when you have your log, they know when you just used it. They send in cheap bait units to see your response, then remember your answer for the rest of the game. Playing against a good log bait player back in the day was actually skill, but this is where the skill disappeared. After 2025, 5, players started plugging in the new hero and evo cards into bait decks, and the whole thing got worse. What the community now calls hyperbait swaps the traditional cards for heroes like the hero goblins, evo skeleton barrel, boss bandit, all with just built-in abilities and elixir costs way low enough to cycle constantly. Instead of baiting one counter, you're suddenly dealing with the hero goblins at the bridge, a evo goblin barrel incoming, and a boss bandit and suspicious bush attacking your tower at the exact same time. If you use your login goblins, the barrel connects. If you save it for the barrel, the skeleton barrel hits the tower. There's no clean answer, dude. A lot of players picked up watching creators on YouTube, and Riley pretty much leads this revolution, being one of the best bait players in the game. As far as hyperbait decks are concerned, the skill ceiling dropped, and everyone agrees that going up against these kids is just a no-brainer to log off the game and do something else, man. Like, seriously. Next, we got the mad scientist or the deck builder. Every meta has at least one deck that came out of nowhere and broke everything for the 2 weeks before getting patched. 9 out of 10 times, it was a kid who loved deck building who built it first, or just a pro player with a big brain. This player isn't following the meta. They're trying to break it. They're the ones running 3 win conditions in a deck with the average elixir 4.8 and somehow making it work with the win streak and posting it on a subreddit thread with the caption, "Is this good?" It's always when they refine it. It's chaotic and it's probably inconsistent, but it absolutely destroys people who've never seen it before because they got the novelty element to it. But some kids are just pro players who genuinely know what they're doing and get it right. This was a guy who found logbait was viable, that 2.6 could outlast beatdown, the minor control was a real archetype. The meta doesn't create itself. Somebody has to sit there losing games with the weird deck and tweak it until suddenly it starts winning. The difference between a pro deck builder and someone who's just randomly bad at deck building is that they actually test something. The idea is usually something like, if I force 2 defensive responses at once, maybe my opponent runs out of answers. Sometimes it's wrong, but sometimes it works with a few changes and it becomes the next meta deck. And it's usually Molite who comes up with good decks like this. The subreddit has a whole category of posts for this player type. They'll just post a deck from a 12-win challenge run. The cards are completely unexpected, and the comment section is split between "this is trolling" and "I've seen this on ladder everywhere." The second comment is always from someone who just got destroyed by it and didn't know how to respond, let's be honest, guys. Beat the kids who love making new decks or just a pro player. They're the reason Clash Royale doesn't go completely stale between the balance updates. Next, we got the noob or the rage quitter. We've all been here and we've faced this guy for sure. This player isn't new to the game. That's the key detail. They've been playing for a year, maybe 2. They know the cards, they've watched YouTube guides, but something in the execution keeps breaking down. They panic during big pushes, or they overcommit elixir exactly at the wrong moment, and they drop a Mega Knight in response to a Goblin Barrel because it felt right in the moment, and if they lose, they blame it on the matchup. Dude, the rage quitter is the same player who hasn't made peace with losing yet, and it's a big problem when they're online. The connection is fine, and they just left because the P.E.K.K.A just took their entire tower, and watching the remaining 60 seconds play out was not happening. What usually happens is that they throw their phone and just leave and instantly come back after 20 seconds, let's be honest. Here's the thing that makes this type so relatable. Everyone on the list was here at some point. The 2.6 veteran who's been playing for 8 years, the meta follower who lives on Royal API, the guy who drops the Mega Knight at the bridge and wonders why it gets countered the exact same way and never learned. Yeah, getting past this stage is just time, repetition, and actually watching the replay instead of closing the app, which I think the rage quitter will never do in their lifetime unless reality hits them. Next, we got the casual or the 2v2 lover. This player doesn't care about trophies. They'll tell you this immediately when you watch them play or understand their mindset. While the meta follower is grinding Path of Legends and the 2.6 player is defending the bridge with perfect timing, this person's in a 2v2 match with a random stranger, deploying a balloon behind a giant and genuinely having the time of their life and trying to make it as entertaining as possible. And they're the chill guy. The 2v2 mode launched in 2017 and grew from clanmate only battles into random matchmaking, post-battle chat, and even its own events tab with a full reward system. Supercell had to pull it a few times to fix bugs, and every time they do, the community loses its mind. You'll see Reddit threads like, "It's been 84 years," which basically tells you that it's been a long time, which racks up thousands of upvotes because people want to chill with their friends and play together. The casual player's deck is usually whatever they're leveled up over time. There's There's probably a Mega Knight in there if I'm being honest. You know what? I'm sure there is. Definitely one of those cards was good in 2018. None of that matters in 2v2 because you're sharing the pressure with someone else and just chilling. And honestly, this is a player who enjoys Clash Royale more than anyone on the list. They've never burnt out chasing trophies. They just keep having fun while everyone else was treating it like there was 10 racks on the table for just a game. And this is a chill vibe, man. Next, we got the unlucky guy. Bro, I think all of us have been here. Every session has moments like this. Some days you're this person entirely. The unlucky guy does everything right and still loses. Their Goblin Barrel lands perfectly and the opponent just happens to have Zap, Snowball, and arrows ready. Their Hog Rider reaches the tower and there's a tornado being used exactly. They defend a giant push cleanly, go for a counter push, and their troops walk straight into their tower and ignore your building. But at every other level of play, the randomness is real. You can make the right call with the information you had and still get punished because of not even the matchup, but the level difference. The unlucky guy isn't even necessarily bad at the game. It's just the matchups and the card levels that take a big toll on them. But once it clicks, the unlucky guy gets back-to-back wins, and I've seen this a lot because they just didn't go up against the wrong things or just level 16 Mega Knight Evo when they're under-leveled. Let me know the other type of Clash Royale players I missed, and I'll make a part 2 for sure if this does well. Bye.